Well, thanks for joining us today. We're sitting here with Matt Torix to discuss the Laurel Public Schools and the planning that has been happening over the past couple months. Let's start off with some introductions. I'm Nicole Anderson. I'm an architect with AE Design.
I'm Matt Torix. I'm the superintendent of schools at Laurel Public Schools.
And I'm Brad Dahl. I'm the principal in charge and architect with A&E Design as well.
Great. So let's hear from Matt. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what's been happening over the past couple of months with the master planning process?
Well, this all started years ago, but we're currently looking at all of our buildings, evaluating our buildings on campus here, and deciding just what we need to do to move forward. So the long-term planning has been remodeling or potentially building one or elementary school, potentially, or even building onto the high school. So we're looking at really the whole big thing. So the last about 6-7 months, we've been meeting as a building committee, and we've been talking about what we need to do and what we need to do to move forward. And it's really kind of been that process, a conversation about what we need in the district. What are the current state of our facilities? What do we need to look at remodeling? What can we remodel? What's worth remodeling? To basically best use taxpayer money as efficiently as we possibly can to serve our students, give our students the best possible facilities that we can afford. And really that's what we've been doing over the last few months, is just evaluating, deciding what direction we want to go. We got to a point where we felt like we needed some guidance and just exactly what could we build, what can we afford, what will that look like, what parts of our community that we want to use to build on, what buildings can we remodel. So we just had these huge discussions. So we brought A&E Designs on to help us through that process, and the board hired them a few months ago. And again, we're now a few months into this process of just deciding exactly what we need.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's been a really fun process and a great team that we're working with, the building committee. This session is really just meant to be a sneak peek. And so there's a presentation now up that we'll just run through. This is the planning committee, some of the people who have been part of the planning process, business leaders within the community, teachers, students. It's been a really fun group of people to work with. And everyone's really excited, and we love to work with people who are really passionate and excited. So let's kick off. I believe we're just going to touch on kind of our process. And one thing that we like to do with school districts is go through an exercise that we call hopes and fears. And that's really to just gather information about what's important to both the school district community and the community at large. We touch on these 5 topics: so school culture, student development and space needs, safety and security, maintenance and operations, and community use. And we drive down into what are the hopes and fears. So what the opportunities are for the school. And what we do with those statements is then turn them into what we call guiding principles, which are core tenets of the design project. And we use them to guide ourselves as designers and the building committee to remind us, what is it that we're really trying to achieve? What are the kind of the overarching themes of the project? So to start off, enhance learning environments. And what this means is really, how do we modernize the learning environments so that students are really achieving what they need, what they should be achieving, and giving them the best possible space to achieve. And that includes, also encompasses daylight, proper HVAC systems so that they're comfortable in classrooms. It entails a lot. So the second guiding principle, adaptable and flexible. One thing that we really try to think about is, how do we design spaces, facilities that moving forward can both function in multiple ways, but also adapt in the future. into whatever the school district's needs may be. And that's a really big, important priority as we think long term. Safe and welcoming. So how do we create an environment and enhance the existing school to create both a safe and secure environment that's also welcoming? The fourth guiding principle, build community. This is something that the building committee has really touched on quite a bit. We want to make sure that we're collaborating with the community, both within the school district and the community of Laurel at large. The fifth guiding principle is build trust, and this extends on that previous guiding principle, which is how do we build trust within the community to ensure that the decisions being made now are the best for the future moving forward. The sixth guiding principle, operational efficiencies. This has to do with a lot of things related to the drop-off and pickup sequences for teachers, parents, and how do we plan for facilities that make that easier. It's a pain point we understand for the community, so we're working to enhance that. But operational efficiencies also talk about mechanical systems and how do we use those as opportunities even for learning for students. So the last guiding principle is think long term, and we've already touched on that. Matt has already touched on that. How do we spend money efficiently so that moving forward into the future, we're providing facilities that will meet the needs far into the future.
Matt, anything you want to add there,
so,
just as
yeah.
far as sorry, Nicole, I just want to interrupt for a second. Matt, is there anything
Okay.
you wanted to add there for the guiding principles, things that you've heard throughout the community or the committee as well?
Yeah, I think that really about building trust, and we want to be very transparent with what we're trying to do. There's no secrets here. This is a community decision. This is we want community members. We're going to hold community meetings to, people can poke holes in our ideas, and we need to try to round out those ideas to be the best that they possibly can for now and for the future. So realistically, we want people to come in, and we want to be very open about this process, and just let people know that we understand we're custodians of the community's taxes, and that's a big role that we understand we have to play. We need to be very responsible with how we spend that money. So I just think that building trust is something that I think as a guiding principle has probably been the most important to this committee.
And maybe the last one I would touch on just one more time would be the enhanced learning environments.
Yeah.
I mean, what we've heard from the teachers and even the students is just the state of the facilities they're in currently, whether they're too hot or too cold in some of the spaces. And we know from so much data and information today that students achieve when they have properly daylit spaces or proper conditioned space, that if they're not cold or if they're not too warm or whatever, that they just achieve at the greatest potential. And we really want to give our students of Laurel the best opportunity to achieve because they're really the future generation of this community. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to ensure that they have the potential to achieve to their greatest potential. So that's one we've spent a lot of time talking about, is just
It
making
is.
sure
It is. Some of our facilities are just tired. And as we look at buildings that are 70 some years old, we have a lot of mechanical system failures. We have issues with roofing and obviously foundational issues at Graf that these buildings were built at a time when education was just different. We need to look at our shop and our ag facilities at the high school, because when those were built in the 60s, things were just different. And we really need to bring things up to date, give kids those opportunities moving forward. It's just a different world, and our buildings are starting to become tired, and we think we can do some remodels and keep them going. And we have others we think we need to look at abandoning and building new potentially. So just something to think about, but it's really what's been driving us this entire time.
Yeah. And we'll touch on, maybe, Matt, if you could do it in a minute here, just give us a quick overview of each of the schools in the district and their current condition and
Sure.
whatever. But for now, we want to touch just briefly on the capacity within the both elementary school and middle school. I'm going to jump ahead for a second here to the middle school because I think it does impact the elementary school as we look forward, and I'll come back to that. But if you're seeing here on the screen, what you're seeing is right now the current middle school is really up against capacity of the school that they're in, with fifth grade through eighth grade in the facility right now, and so. This purple line really designates really what the middle school can accommodate, and with the demographic report that's been completed with the district, what we're seeing is, not too long in the future, we're going to be pressed against the capacity on the school again, and we're really going to be over capacity. We're not going to know where to put a lot of these middle schoolers. And so one of the decisions or strong opinions of the committee is, bringing fifth grade down into the elementary school not only solves a capacity issue at the middle school, but it really probably gets the fifth graders back into the appropriate environment that they felt for fifth graders makes the most sense in that regard. So what you're seeing here is the existing and really on the left, the existing capacity and what's the future is starting to look like, and the proposed. So like in 2024, 2025, if we were to bring fifth graders back into the elementary school with some of the proposed building and maybe renovations, additions to schools, we really start to build some capacity in for the long term for the middle school. Anything you want to add there, Matt?
I think that it's just more of a developmentally appropriate setting for fifth graders to be in the elementary setting as opposed to a middle school setting. And I've been told by multiple community members and school members here that at the time they built the middle school, the fifth grade being part of the middle school was really supposed to be a temporary solution. And now we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. We can move them back into the elementary level, which is more developmentally appropriate, but also then that will help us prepare for growth in the middle school and give us some space in the middle school to grow there. So actually it helps us out quite a bit. And I think it also helps the community a little bit getting those fifth graders back into probably a more appropriate setting.
Yeah, so I think that pairs well with what we look at when we look at the elementary capacity. So again, this purple line between 900 and 1,000 students is really the capacity of the three elementary schools currently. And so you can see there's capacity there currently. If we bring fifth grade in, it won't be long until the capacity is really we're starting to hit that capacity. But what we know with what we're studying in the school, that really some of these schools are currently aged and tired and have really served a good life for the community, and it's maybe time to look at some renovations, additions, or even new facilities. And so what we're seeing here on the right-hand side then is if what we're showing with the existing capacity and proposed additional capacity we would build as part of these improvements to the facilities, we really are starting to set up the district for additional ability to grow throughout the next 10, 15 years without having to run up against that space needs as part of that.
Right.
So maybe, Matt, if you take a few minutes here and just talk briefly about each of the schools and property that the district owns, and just quick overview of what we're facing there and any of the opportunities or constraints with the district or these
Sure, let's
facilities.
go. All right, you see a kind of an overview of our facilities. We have our five inhabited schools. We have the middle school, or the old middle school, which is now the administration building. We have a piece of land up towards the north of 8th Street, right up there. And so realistically, our facilities are all from the 50s and 60s. Our middle school is in obviously the best condition because it's about 15 years old, 16 years old. So it's in the best shape at this particular time. So Graff Elementary is the school that if you go back 5 years, Graff Elementary was still in the plan to utilize moving forward. But what we found in the last 6 months, 8 months, is that we have more issues at Graff than what we thought. We've had some people look into the foundations of Graff. We have some issues with the foundations, and at this time, putting money into Graff in any type of remodel is really not an efficient use of money. And we do worry about the long-term efficacy of Graff Elementary. And by putting money into the building structure itself, we still feel like we have a bad foundational issues. We have water issues. And so we're looking at abandoning Graff right now would be one of our ideas. But it's in probably the worst shape of any of our elementary schools at this current time. West, we feel like is in the best shape of any of the elementary schools. We've been underneath west. It's dry as a bone down there. We got a lot of positives going on. Yeah, we have some issues here and there with the mechanical systems, and we're working on those. But we feel like west is probably in the best condition of any of our elementary schools currently. You can, we'll go ahead and move over to
I
south.
can go. I can go back to. I can go back to
No,
west.
you're fine. No, you're fine. That was just that's the overall view there. But the south, go ahead and go to south. So south is in pretty good shape. It's small. We've outgrown it. We have three buildings, mobiles out in the back where we have elementary students, kindergartners, and pre-K kids in these buildings that are actually in the back of the school. We also have a library back there, so the kids have to exit the building even in the winter to go to the library. It's not a great situation. We've just outgrown it. We do think South's in good enough condition to reuse. So we would not be abandoning South. We still think about utilizing South, whether it's as an administration building or something along those lines, but we feel like South can be utilized at this point, and it's still in pretty good shape. We have some mechanical issues. We've had some water issues with a pipe burst over Christmas, but we certainly feel like that it's in good enough condition. It's small enough that any type of work done on it would definitely not cost as much as if we were to try to redo the current administration building, for example, and bring it up to speed. We feel like South's a much better option. The high school's got a lot of positives to it. It's just getting old in a few areas, and we just need to look at just giving us a little bit more classroom space as we expand. One of the things that is an issue in my mind is we have some CTE issues, which are career technical education building, our shop and our ag ed stuff. We feel like does need to be renovated or built new. Something we need to update our those facilities. Those facilities are very important to the school district, and I would hope the community, because we're really looking at those are the welding and the woodworking, the metalworking, and the ag department with the plants and all that. And that stuff, those are people we need out in our communities and good high paying jobs in not only in Laurel but in the country. And we want to really try to develop those. And those facilities are very aged and old. We've had to do electrical work, for example, just to plug in some new welders that we got. So those are some issues that we're looking down the road. We also need some new classrooms in the building. Some of our facilities are getting a little bit tired. We have some issues in our gym. Our bleachers are in very poor condition, and we're not able to even pull them out all the way without getting 10 people to pull them out as manually along with the motors. They're not repairable. We've had people in to look at them. We have issues there. We've got ceiling issues around the district. We have heating issues. We need some new air handlers in the high school. We definitely are short of gym space in our town. We're looking at possibly even an auxiliary gym of some sort just to try to get open more community opportunities to come in, traveling teams, AAU, our school teams. We just feel like we need to utilize this building. We feel like it still has a lot of life left in it. We just needed to tweak it a little bit to make it better for the students and for the community. We do have a 21-acre land to the north of town. It's a good piece of land. We feel like it's been a great investment. It's probably doubled in price since we invested in it. It does have some limitations. It's a great piece of land to build in the future on, but at this time, we're still not 100% sure. But we're probably not going to utilize this. We feel like it would cost the taxpayers some money just to get that ground ready to put a shovel in the ground and start building on. And we just feel like maybe it's not the best use of money right now. We feel like it's a great piece of land that may be utilized in the future, but for right now, we just feel like it's might be cost us a little bit too much to develop. We want to try to keep the cost down to the community as much as we possibly can at these difficult financial times.
And maybe I'll add, Matt, is the last piece of land that the district owns that we don't have a slide for is Mogan Field, adjacent to the elementary or to the middle school. That as we went through this, the committee felt we should look at a little bit further, and so there you'll see some scenarios here about that. So just to kind of build on sort of the process that we've been through to date, armed with this information of these facility reviews and guiding principles and hopes and fears exercises, we really put the committee to work to really think about all of the opportunities in the district and all of the sites, and really wanted this to be a reflection of what we feel the community needs, but also help to satisfy the programmatic needs of the district. What are spaces and needs that the district needs, and then what really starts to balance and think is efficient use of tax funds as we go forward. And so we armed the committee with developing some different ideas and scenarios from there in a workshop format, and in multiple options going at one time. And so what we wanted to do today is just share with you a little bit of the progress that's been done to date. These scenarios are very much in concept form. They're very early in the process and can adapt and change. We thought it was a great opportunity to share this information with the community, with the district, and others to get feedback, to start to understand what makes sense, and an opportunity to hear back from the community. So the first one we'll talk about is the high school. And so as Matt mentioned, really the committee was both challenged the design team, and then I think the design team challenged the committee back of finding ways to solve both the CTE, and educational space needs, but also I think with this finding ways to make the building a little bit more safe and secure by not having as many doors or access points around the school. And so what you'll see here is really a solution that creates an addition for a gymnasium area where there's additional classrooms, auxiliary gym, wrestling room, and expanded locker rooms. To Matt's point, where this just gives additional community aspects as well as educational spaces to the community in order to enhance some of that guiding principle, where we wanted to create more community use for the school, as well as achieving some of the needs that the schools need, or the school needs. Second, or at the same time, also adding this CTE or industrial arts wood shop space over here off of kind of where the music area is of the school. At the same time, what this can do is provide space for adult education, potentially in these spaces in the future, as well as, again, keeping students within the school where they're not going in and out of the school to a space that's more remote from it. And so we're really keeping all the students contained within one facility. With this solution, we also think there's a great opportunity to enhance this practice field. We know there's some issues over there, which is drainage. At the same time, providing additional parking that could serve the stadium and athletic spaces to the south of the high school there. Anything you want to add there, Matt?
Yeah, we'd also look at upgrading our library, and the old library would become new classroom space, which would also help. We don't have to add on, everything's kind of an internal there, so which I would save some money, and we're able to kind of reuse our internal spaces a little more efficiently. Again, a lot of our facilities in the high school are from the 60s, everything from our the locker rooms and the showering system, and we just want to update some of those things, and again, give kids a better opportunity. We'd be connecting out to our weight room facilities, so kids would not have to be walking outside. I am always worried about security issues in today's world. I don't want to overreact to that, but it is a constant worry that I have as a superintendent, and really bringing that school into one whole facility as opposed to a bunch of different outbuildings, we think would be a very efficient way to run it.
Yeah. So this just kind of shows how the site could be developed. And I think, if we were to be able to connect the CTE space as well as the gymnasium space, really there's some property up on the north east corner of the site that really allows the district to look at different opportunities up there, whether that's rethinking how the bus barn works, or how the facilities for the district could be, some of those buildings could be used for facility services. There's just some freedom up there that allows the district a little bit more opportunity.
Right. We're looking at all those options. We just think that would help us run more efficiently and help some of our outdated bus barn, and we think that would be a big benefit.
Yeah. So then we also looked at the elementaries and thinking about how can we use some of these properties efficiently. And so the first option is an option to rebuild where Graph is. So Graph currently sits under where this soccer field is being shown. there's an opportunity with the size of this site that we really could build a brand new elementary school while Graph is in operation. Build this new elementary school and improve drop off pickup on site. But then once that's up and constructed, we could take Graph down and really create a green space or green field there for more community use, athletic field space, what have you, adjacent to the existing football field. The second option with this one, with the Graph property, would say if we were to build a new elementary school somewhere else, where Graph is at, we could take that field or take that building down and really enhance this as a really an athletic complex for field space, whether that's softball fields, soccer fields, expanded track and field area spaces in here. I mean, it could really do a lot of things for the district, as well as solving parking. While it's not shown on here, we could easily accommodate a fair amount of parking for bus parking, for track tournaments. A lot of things could happen here with this site, and accommodate some needs, I think, within the community for athletic fields. So if we were to do that option B, where we were to build fields, really the committee felt that really the best property to build a new school, which in this case could probably be a 3-5 elementary, would be to use the 8 acres on Mogan Field, where we could build a new elementary school, have appropriate drop-off and parking spaces, and additional field space, with the ability that this building could expand in the future if necessary, to growth, and just makes a lot of sense in a lot of regards, and really starts to take drop off and pick up opportunities, and starts to distribute them a little bit further away from each other to help with some traffic patterns throughout Laurel as well. With that, paired with that, one of those solutions, we would really need to do something with West, meaning a renovation within the facility to create the appropriate spaces, but then also looking at doing additions for additional classroom space with a classroom expansion here to the west, as well as maybe a gymnasium space to the south. Again, creating more community space for gymnasium space. It allows some of the spaces within the existing spaces then become multi-purpose spaces or meet different programmatic needs within the district as well. Again, with this, we've been looking at options to help bring drop off and pick up off of the street as necessary to just help that traffic flow for each project. And then at the same time, the committee, we charged ourselves to say, if we're going to make improvements to this site and this school, can we make them in such a way that for the long term, if we were to fast forward 15, 20 years from now, can we utilize those additions to the building in a way that they're not wasted if we feel that, you know, it's not too long from West to be over 100 years old, that if we were to take parts of West down, that we could reuse those parts. And the answer is yes. We could easily reuse that gym and that a classroom expansion and create additional classroom expansions and really kind of create a new elementary out of the additions that we've done to the school. So Matt, anything you want to add on just the elementary options across the board here?
You know, again, we're wide open right now. These were our ideas. Heck, in one scenario back a month ago, we had building on the new 21 acres to the north of 8th. So we've had a lot of ideas. Heck, we even talked about a new high school. What would that look like? Can we afford something like that? What would that the positives and the negatives be? So we've really discussed a lot of scenarios. And again, these are ideas. We'd really be looking at the creation of a new elementary and then the expansion of West and then the abandonment potentially of South and bringing the kindergartners over to West. We think it would help with busing. We think it would help with drop-offs. We're going down from from 3 to 2 elementary schools. We think that there'll just be a lot of positives to this process. And again, we might be able to abandon some properties that are costing us money, like the old administration building. And so we're looking at a lot of options, but we really need the help of the community to just sit down and have a conversation about what do they see as the issues of these scenarios.
Yeah, and so quickly here we can. I think you just briefly touched on it. A South Elementary, as you mentioned earlier, probably makes a lot of sense to become an admin building, really abandoning the old high school, middle school, where the administration is at currently, and moving them into this building, which makes a lot of sense from a location standpoint, and just a facility size standpoint, and bringing kindergarten back into your K-5 elementary area.
Sure.
So, Matt, maybe you want to touch on just a little bit about how the community can be engaged, and I'm going to share an event. Maybe you want to talk about that, as you've talked on a few times today here.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about our next event is this Thursday coming up, January 19th, from 3 to 8 o'clock at Laurel High School. We'll actually be hosting a basketball game that night. But as you are coming into the basketball game, we invite you to step in and have a conversation with us. We'll be set up in the hallways there. It's not really a set and get type of meeting. It's really for you to come in, to listen a little bit, and to give a bunch of feedback. Tell us what you think. We'll have some stations set up with different concepts and ideas and different parts of the process. And it's something you can do if you come out to get a hot dog. Grab your hot dog, walk down the hall, and start talking to some people. We just want to get as many people there. It's really a listening session for us, for administration, and for A&E will be there. And we just want to absorb the ideas of the community and let everyone know exactly what we're thinking, and we can give you the whys beyond what we did in this video. But we really want you guys there, so that'll be our first one. It won't be our last. We'll have multiple community opportunities, but this is really our first one, and we're doing it right in the middle of a basketball game to try to get as many people as we possibly can to come down and hear what we have to say and listen. We want to listen to you guys.
Awesome. Well,
And I think if you're not able to come to the event, there's also a website that you can go to in the meantime and provide your feedback
Right,
at the website.
We've developed a website. We've linked it to our Facebook page. We've linked it to our school website. And really, we want it to be a storehouse of information. You can see it at the bottom of the page there. It's right there. And I've actually emailed that to parents and texted it out to our school community, but we want all of our community to really go there and they can start to see what's going on. We'll add that. We'll add videos to that. We'll add some of these presentations and the graphics. We'll add that to those sites. There's also a page on there for feedback. So if you have any questions, we're creating a frequently asked questions page, but you can direct your questions right in here. You can give me a call or email me. We'll try to get all your questions answered, your concerns answered. Again, I don't want to overuse the word transparent, but we want this to be a process that simply anyone can understand and ask questions on, and we will give you information. There is no secrets at Laurel Public Schools. We want to let you guys know exactly what we're doing and what we're planning.